Buddha, the human teacher who became a timeless guide. Gautama Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, was a real historical figure who lived around 563 and 483 BCE in ancient India, now between modern-day Nepal and India. Though legends and embellishments have shaped his story over the centuries, historical evidence confirms that he was a human being who renounced his life of privilege in search of profound truth, a journey that would eventually lead to the founding of Buddhism. What makes Buddhism unique is its pragmatic focus. Unlike many religions that emphasize an eternal afterlife, Buddhism teaches a fluid cause and effect process, the cycle of karma and rebirth. Different Buddhist traditions interpret the afterlife in various ways, but the core goal remains the same: to break free from suffering through enlightenment. Notably, Buddha never claimed to be divine. The deification of Buddha was a cultural evolution, shaped by the societies that embraced his teachings. Even today, some Buddhists follow his human-centered path, while others engage in devotional practices, treating Buddha as a transcendent guide, not a creator god, but a spiritual beacon. The birth of Siddhartha Gautama, a miraculous arrival. Legend has it that in the lush gardens of Lumbini, near the foothills of the Himalayas, Queen Maya of the Shakya kingdom walked gracefully beneath the blooming sal trees. The night before, she had dreamed of a pure white elephant with 6 tusks, which entered her side, a sign of destiny beyond mortal imagination. As tradition required, Queen Maya was traveling to her parental home to give birth. Beneath the fragrant branches, she reached up to hold a branch for support. In that moment, her labor began, and from her right side, the infant Siddhartha Gautama entered the world, painlessly, according to legend. The newborn took 7 steps, and with each step, a lotus flower bloomed beneath his feet. Raising one tiny hand to the sky, the infant is said to have declared,
"I am the foremost of all beings. This is my final birth. I have come to bring enlightenment to the world."
The heavens rejoiced. Celestial flowers rained from the sky, and even the gods were said to have sung in delight. Wise sages from distant lands came to see the child. Among them was the hermit Asita, who wept, not from sadness, but from bittersweet realization. He knew he was too old to witness the boy's future enlightenment. The child was named Siddhartha, meaning one who has accomplished his purpose. His father, King Suddhodana, ruler of the powerful Shakya clan, had high hopes, not for a monk or a spiritual teacher, but for a future king who would rule the world. But fate had other plans. The prince in luxury, a caged life of pleasure. Determined to prevent his son from ever choosing the spiritual path, King Suddhodana shielded Siddhartha from all suffering. The young prince lived in 3 palaces, one for each season, each filled with music, feasts, dancers, and unimaginable luxury. The king ordered that everything unpleasant be kept from Siddhartha's sight. No elderly people were allowed near him. The sick were removed before he could see them. Death was hidden from him entirely. Siddhartha married Yasodhara, a beautiful princess, and they had a son, Rahula. The kingdom believed this young prince would fulfill his destiny as a great ruler and conqueror. But despite every luxury, Siddhartha felt a strange emptiness. Something was missing. His golden palace began to feel like a beautiful cage. The foresights that changed his destiny. One day, unable to contain his curiosity about the outside world, Siddhartha persuaded his charioteer, Channa, to take him beyond the palace gates. What he saw would change his life forever. The first sight, old age. Siddhartha saw a frail old man, his back bent, his skin wrinkled, his eyes cloudy with time.
What is wrong with him?
This is old age. Everyone, even you, will grow old.
Siddhartha was shaken. He had never imagined youth could fade. The second sight, sickness. Next he saw a man trembling with fever, weak and coughing.
What happened to him?
He is sick. No one can avoid illness.
Even the strong and beautiful could suffer this way. Siddhartha's world began to crumble. The third sight, death. He then saw a lifeless body carried by mourners.
Why are they crying?
Because death comes for all.
Siddhartha sat in stunned silence, asking himself, what is the meaning of life if all of this ends in suffering? The fourth sight, the ascetic monk. Finally, Siddhartha saw a wandering monk, clothed in simple robes but radiating calm and wisdom.
Who was that?
A renunciant. He has given up worldly pleasures to seek the truth.
That night, Siddhartha stared at his sleeping wife and young son. He loved them deeply, but he knew he had to leave. To find the truth about life and suffering, he had to renounce everything. And so began Siddhartha's quest, a journey that would lead him to enlightenment and the birth of Buddhism. In the years following his enlightenment, many parables were attributed to him, like Jesus. These are anecdotal stories from the life of the Buddha that illustrate his teachings in a relatable way. Among them is the parable of the mustard seed. The parable of the mustard seed. One day, a woman named Gautama was devastated by the death of her young son. Refusing to believe he was gone, she carried his lifeless body, begging people for medicine to bring him back to life. Someone told her to seek help from the Buddha. When she found the Buddha, he told her, I can help, but first, bring me a handful of mustard seeds from a home that has never experienced death. Gautama, filled with hope, knocked on every door in the village. But at each house, she was told that someone, a parent, sibling, or child, had died. She realized that death and loss were universal experiences. Returning to the Buddha, she understood the lesson. Grief comes from attachment. Once we accept impermanence, we find peace. A legacy that still speaks to us.